Well, Brian White, I couldn't help myself this morning. I normally will never, ever post a thumbnail that has anything remotely negative on it. But, I put Bloody Monday and people still actually watch the video.
Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that, and sorrier still for your viewers.
so, so, so I just don't know what else to say. I mean, holy mackerel. I just was looking at Al Root's comments. You know Al Root, right?
Yes, from Barron's AI route, I think is his
AI
name his
Root.
mother gave him. I can't tell if that's an L or an I, but yeah, he's probably a person.
The language masters are going to have to do something about the L and the I because now that we got AI, it throws me off all the time.
Yes, like our favorite FSD channel, Al Driver.
Al Driver, yeah.
Al Driver. I've seen him. He's great. Actually, I've met AI Driver.
Have you
It
met
was
AI?
pretty, yeah, he was at the X takeover and we were chatting and somebody asked him who he was and he said, I'm like, well, you could have told me we're having a conversation.
All right. Well, I thought, what the heck? We might as well. I think we did this last week too, because I think last Monday looked kind of almost identical to this Monday with the Dow up, the NASDAQ flopping, the Magnificent Seven going south, and Tesla joining the crowd. And I just think that's what's going to be on everybody's mind today. So, did you have any theories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird one because Ford is down. Last I checked, I think GM was barely up.
Okay.
Lucid is up. Rivian is up. Rivian had a big fire over the weekend and Rivian is up.
Oh,
But the reality is Rivian is it wasn't in the factory, it was on the factory ground. So when they say at the factory, they mean the location, the
right.
entire site, not the building itself. Production is unaffected. This was apparently in their defect lot, in their put these cars out there, they've got something wrong with them, we got to fix it. And apparently they have fewer to fix now, I
Yeah,
guess
well,
would be.
possibly the shorts who set the fire maybe had to recover this morning and buy. So,
Well, it's a short circuit. So, I mean, maybe, the short is what actually caused the problem. And then, of course, you've got the fact that that is tempered substantially by the fact that Rivian is switching to LFP. They've made the announcement, and LFP is much more thermally
yeah,
secure than
yeah.
NMC. So, why that's we're not talking about Rivian though. We're talking about Tesla and why is it down? So, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I've got a few thoughts. Uh,
Well, so like last Monday, Tesla led. Okay. I mean, they lead all the time, but they led this morning. They were down first and harder. And so I was like, okay, what does that mean? And again, it was just like last week. And then the rest of the Magnificent Seven just, I mean, NVIDIA's got their earnings Wednesday, I think, and everybody's expecting a massive beat, and yet they've been down, and they're down this morning over a point, over 1%. So anyway, my basic theory was maybe this was a rotation, which is what everybody thought last week, and everybody's been thinking for about 4 weeks because Dow is up, and the durable goods numbers were very strong this morning,
very durable.
very durable. They were durable and up like 9% or something. But again, last month it was down 6. But overall, that was a very good print, and that would have said, hey, maybe it's time to get into those old companies in the Dow and move a little money out of the new companies in the NASDAQ. But that was my number one theory, as sketchy as it is.
Well, you do have sketchy theories, Randy. I'll give you that. Well, let's start with an easy one that's definitely not the reason. Uh, Big story over the weekend. Tesla cut down 500,000 trees in Berlin. And it's sensational when Yahoo went with the headline, Elon Musk cuts down 500,000 trees at Tesla's German gigafactory. Did you know he's handy with a chainsaw? He's out there by himself. Just, you know what? I'm having a bad day. I'm gonna cut some tree. First of all, not a news story, a very old story, but somehow it started with one big site and everybody desperate for Tesla content was like, "Ooh, let's repeat this absurdity." And remember, they do replant 3 times as many trees as they cut down. They replant them in places that actually need them. They do so in a biodiverse way using native species. It is not a story.
No, the trees they cut down were slated to become cardboard.
Yes, but they were also slated to be replanted to
And
grow more cardboard. And now they will not be replanted at this location, but somewhere else that actually needs them. So that's not it. If we want to look at real things that are moving it, the referral program is back.
oh,
The
and
referral program is back.
that would
And
cause
that,
it to be down.
yes, because it is a backdoor price cut.
Oh, I
It
see.
is the first 10 people who use my code get $1,000 off, and I get a $500 store credit. Now that $500 store credit is not worth $500 because everything that you can buy with it is massively overpriced. And they're not infinite, so it's not like I can get a free Cybertruck as I had hoped. If I were to get enough referrals, that's not a thing. You
Not a
can't do
thing.
that. You could get half off a Powerwall if you max out.
Oh,
Great. That's still not
not it. Not
not
inspiring.
not as exciting, but that $1,000 off is. And that
Yes.
$1,000 off for buyers is a real price cut. And this is, it's a backdoor price cut. The MSRP hasn't come down, but the cost, the actual value to the company of that sale just dropped by $1,000 on a lot of cars. That's,
The whatever that value of the 500 points is or whatever. So
yes.
so if you live in
So
Colorado now, the Model 3 is free.
they will, they're practically giving them away. Yeah, there are deals like that exist that get you down so close to free. It kind of starts getting a little batty.
I have
But
a, I
they're
was, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, but yeah, it keeps getting cheaper.
Yeah, I have a sister living in Colorado. I was thinking of calling her and suggesting we create a partnership for a future robotaxi.
Yeah. So the other news that's happening is and I don't like to talk about politics, but there is an election looming, and depending on who wins, there is different possibilities for the company.
Right.
And we know that a lot of people had said that by Elon making friends with the Republican candidate, Donald Trump, that it would be good for Tesla. And I don't think the analysts see it that way. They think Tesla would be the best of the EV plays, but that it would be bad for all EV plays overall. And the idea that them being friends would correct misinformation was mistaken.
So far.
Elon did not take an opportunity to do that during their 2-hour conversation on Spaces on X. And since then, Trump has gone out to repeat a number of the misunderstandings about EVs, and then also has said today even that, oh no, the cabinet position, that's not going to happen. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I don't think Elon has time for something like that. I don't think he has.
That's what Trump said. Yeah.
Well, yes, and I think that's correct. I think it would be a waste of his talents. I think it would be too tedious for him to excel. But that was something a lot of people were looking at as, well, this is definitely a feather in Tesla's cap, and it is not. It is not.
I was more hopeful of that of the Doge committee. Department of Government Efficiency, which sounded to me like an oxymoron, but maybe under Elon Musk it would be a possibility.
Yeah, that's something every candidate has run on since forever. I'm going to eliminate waste, fraud, and mismanagement. And it never happens because if it was that easy, it would have been done by now. And that's just, yeah, that's a political, that's something you just throw out there in politics all the time. Yeah. And so I think a lot of the hope that that a Trump victory would be a Tesla victory is becoming clear that it would not be a Tesla victory. For people who have different priorities, they would still consider it a victory. But for electrification, it does not look super promising.
Yeah, I have a very, very almost useless case to present, but for the very first time in church yesterday, which is, you can imagine in Riverside, California, at a Baptist church, you would have a conservative crowd. And,
Yeah.
This is the very first time that one of that conservative crowd came up to me and said, "Oh, Elon," with a smile on their face. Up till now, it's always been kind of contentious that I'm a big Elon fan, but for the very first time, there was a positive attitude with regard to Elon. So this is what I've been claiming for, I don't know, 12, 15 months, that there's a great, huge population of people out there that did not, and may still not care for Musk because of the green association, the forced into it association. That's what I hear in my circles. And now maybe people are starting to say, "Oh, well, if Trump likes him, then he must be a good guy."
Yeah, it's very strange that Elon is still saying that he's center left, and he's not. If he was, the conservative people I know wouldn't like him. So I don't know. He's tap dancing a bit, but it's tricky. The problem I've seen with the polling on EV opinions, people, will you buy an EV? How do you feel about EVs? Is that conservatives overwhelmingly do not care for them, over
Right.
half. And if those people are warming up to the idea, they're not doing so with dollars. They're not actually buying cars yet.
Oh, I
And
wouldn't expect it. Oh, I wouldn't expect it like in 60 days. It's going to take.
it hasn't been 60 days. It's been a couple years now
No.
that Elon has tacked
Yeah. Yeah.
in
No,
favor of conservatives.
yeah.
And the sales are not materializing. They're just not.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it was coming. It would, my theory, just so you know what my theory on this, and I've talked about it a lot on the show, is not that it would be like, oh, conservatives would say he likes Trump, therefore we'll buy. No, they need to hear the story. The story has to change. There has to be a change in the mental idea of who is Elon? What does he stand for? What are his goals, etc. Because there's a very, very strong, believe me, because I've lived in that world my entire life. There's a very strong negative opinion about being forced to do anything by the government. And that is the underlying problem, not whether it works better, not whether it's more or less expensive, but, oh, they're going to force me out of my ICE vehicle. You've seen these headlines.
I've seen the headlines, but I've never met anyone so irrational as to say, I want one, but I'm not going to buy one because I think someday you might tell me I have to buy one. That's a degree of strange behavior I can't wrap my head around, and I haven't met those people personally.
Totally agree with you. So I've had my Tesla for 3 years, as conservative as I am in my politics. But the other side is, but the other side is just as irrational, because they're like, well, if Elon Musk has joined the other side now, I'm not going to buy one because I don't like his politics. So both brands of irrationality are certainly,
yes, but unfortunately, they're both real, and they both spell less sales.
Yeah.
So if you're upsetting one side and they're stopping and they're reducing their sales, California sales are down. And the people who are now saying, well, maybe I do like you, but I'm still not going to buy your car, that doesn't move units.
Yeah. So
and when you get out into the redder parts of the country, there are a lot of places where without home charging, you cannot buy electric, period. If you don't have home charging, you can't do it. And the counter I hear to this is people saying, well, I've driven coast to coast and I know that the network is there. Right. You've driven. That's what I call the AT&T coast to coast. It's more coast and coast. You do have all the corridors covered. But when my friend Larry bought his first Tesla, this was 3 years ago, when he wanted to go visit his daughter, he would charge up at home, go visit her, drive 10 miles farther to charge up again, and then go home. And there are a lot of places throughout the middle of the country that are still like this and will be for a long time, because the middle of the country is very big. There's a lot of space there, and putting chargers absolutely everywhere takes time.
Yes,
and until we have the network where it's as permeant as gas stations, it's going to pose adoption risks. And then you've got states like Georgia, where they've just passed a law that says, by the way, we're adding a tax on public charging.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
to help cover the roads,
Yes.
even though we're already charging $228 a year for
Registration.
an EV registration fee. We're just going to tax some more.
Of
And
course.
well, oh,
Of course they are.
of course they are.
Of course they
Of course they are, because you got to do. If you have a chance to be terrible and you don't take it, how do you know that you're a politician?
are. I know. Well,
So
by the way, I understand that sometimes the names just won't come. The CEO of NVIDIA,
mhm,
whose name is,
escapes me too.
oh my gosh, I can't.
It's
It
the
begins with
senile is
Anyway, I understand that he also has now become a staunch Republican and making all kinds of statements about Trump, which is why NVIDIA is down so much today. So it totally makes sense. Anyway, let's talk about Canada.
Well, the S&P came out in favor of a candidate, and now it's tanking. Wait, that's
Yeah,
not a thing.
what's going on?
So
Let's
you want to talk about Canada?
talk about Canada.
I've heard of it.
They decided to follow the leader today.
Yeah. Canada, 100% import duty on Chinese EVs looming. Wow. I honestly didn't see it coming. I really didn't. If they'd have said 10 or 20, I'd have said, well, okay. But 100% just means no, thank you. No Chinese EVs for us
At all. Yeah.
at all, because you can't. 100% is too punishing. I mean, you might as well just say they're banned.
Yeah.
What this is likely to do is accelerate the plans to move manufacturing to North America. And I'm sorry, Canada, but I don't think they're going to select Canada for their factory. I think they're more likely to select Mexico or the U.S. Southeast, where labor will be cheaper.
But
Canada does have production. They do have a lot of
productions. They do have a historic automobile business up there. So they do have, qualified workers and whatnot, and their dollar is in the tank. And at least compared to the American dollar. So there are some possibilities. I could imagine that maybe some folks might think it might make sense to put a plant up in the Great Lakes somewhere. But yeah, I would agree with you. Way more likely to be Mexico as a primary place to go.
well, and Mexico has more trade agreements than Canada, I believe.
Right.
So even if marginally so, I haven't done the count on them recently, but they do have more than the U.S. But as I recall, but it's been a while since I've looked at it. So I don't, especially to have it 100% overnight would be insane. It would be a real slap in the face. And I'll tell you what one thing it would do is it would kill the fully charged shows from appearing in Vancouver.
Yes,
Fully
probably.
charged. You and I met for the first time in person at Fully Charged in San Diego.
Yeah.
And the next year I was scheduled to speak at that event again, and the event was canceled and I asked them why, and they told me, we can't get enough sponsors because all of the Chinese brands have said, if we can't sell in the US, why on earth are we presenting? Yeah, why are we paying a fortune for a booth and a presentation and a staff for a market we're not even allowed to sell in? It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. So what I was thinking this morning is that possibly, again, I think it's probably more of a macro problem this morning in terms of the stock, but the announcement about Canada could have created a knee-jerk reaction of, oh, this will hurt, Tesla sales coming out of China. But I guess they will just come out of Austin and Fremont instead.
What do you, oh yeah,
Tesla
that's
will just-
right. That's right. You're right. Tesla Model 3 and Y in Canada are made in Shanghai. That will absolutely shift that. So, well, I guess the good news there is that the underutilization in Texas is now going to be better utilized, and that interesting. And the Model 3, the refresh, is apparently easier to build, slightly more efficient, so they could fill that need from there. What it does mean is that those batteries that we were saving for the U.S. market for buyers to qualify for the IRA are now going to be shipped to Canada, where there's no such restriction, no such benefit to doing so. Shanghai will certainly find markets for those vehicles to go other than Canada. They were only doing it because it was slightly more profitable than just shipping them north of the border.
Right.
But yeah, that will affect Tesla's Giga Shanghai factory as well. Guys, what are we doing?
I don't know. So I guess that covers all the reasons that I could think of for Tesla. And I was just going to check because it's fun to do and see whether, there was, by talking about it and clarifying this to the people who watch this show, that have we had any impact? Nope, still exactly down $7.18.
Well, I'm going to look real quick and I see that Rivian and Lucid are still up and Ford is still down. So, but Ford's only down 1% versus Tesla 3.25%. So,
well, Tesla's always, the delta is always huge. So
it is. And I don't get it, you guys. Do you not believe in this company? Do you not
it's
see
about,
the
it's about
future?
the options.
It really is.
That's why the delta is so huge. I know as an options player.
Well, Tesla Boomer Mama was saying on a podcast I listened to recently that Tesla at one time had the largest short in the market, and now it's only like 3 to 4% at any given time is short.
Yeah,
so that's
but the overall options plays on Tesla generally speaking are the number one of any company.
I don't.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me because with a company that swings as aggressively, it's where the money is to be made and lost.
Yes, that's happened to me more than a couple of times. All right, I think we've covered the subject matter at hand, and so therefore, unless you have some other highly intelligent, or even a fun thing to say,
I don't think so. I think we covered more than enough ground.
Talk to me about your lemon tree. The lemon hasn't grown. You haven't picked it.
I haven't watered it because I think it would just grow mold.
Yes. See, I knew there was something. I knew we could get something to end the show with a jocular thing or whatever. It's been really great having you on board. And follow him. Send him a referral code when you buy the car. I might do that someday. I still haven't done it. I haven't even got my code. But for now, send it to him and then follow him all over the place. And you go ahead and help him produce that show. Send him money on Patreon. Do all those things. I think he deserves every nickel or dollar or
both
whatever.
Nickels.
Yes. All right. It's been great talking to you.